Holy jumping, I'm Darren Pang, and you're listening to the fellas here at Missin Curfew.
Welcome back to a fresh episode of Missin Curfew Mondays.
Talk about fresh.
Monday.
Feeling fresh on a Monday.
I'm feeling way fresher, bro.
I know, buddy. You're looking
take
fresh.
care of myself. I'm a pro.
I know you.
I would have never gotten in trouble now, bro.
Little Port Hope trip, eh?
Get in bed early, up early, don't eat, jerk off a lot. I would have never been in trouble.
Yeah, totally. What a program. You're making a comeback, fella.
I'm making a comeback, fella. Thanks to our boy, Matt Chapman.
Chappy.
Fucking nice little, the Blue Jay thing he had on was nice.
He's a stud, bro.
Can I get down to double XL? You think that was nice to see the little black on black?
Professional. Like hockey guys, take a note, eh? Take a note from a starting third baseman for the Jays.
Yeah.
Be a pro.
He had so many good things to say. I love about the home run jacket. I love that he said we're still going to have fun, but we're going to be serious, Blue Jays. You know this is my squad up. So
Yeah.
you know how me and Lewis feel about
He
this.
said that group in that room realized that this is their chance.
Go
in and make a splash, boys.
Yeah.
So, Chappie, thanks for coming on.
We'll see you in Toronto at Marble.
Friend of the pod.
What else is Peter Gerge's place? Mademoiselle.
He's got them all.
Peter. We'll see you there this time. Updogg, Darren Pang, in studio. Great job by you. It's way more fun having them in studio. Panger's an absolute legend. So thanks for getting for him. And this is a great interview.
Great interview, taking his time out of a little road trip in front of a golf game that we're going to get shortly hereafter. But guy, man, 5'4" of just ball of happiness and laughter. And I mean, fuck, he explains it. I think he played at 135 pounds.
Yeah, he's a beauty. Well said. He's just laughing. Great voice. Darren Pang coming at you here.
Coming at you, fella.
Welcome back to Missin Curfew. Updogg.
Big fella and little fella.
Great being with you guys.
Panger.
Really great. You guys are doing a phenomenal job.
You're looking sharp in the Johnny O little 3-piece zip or 3/4 zip up, by the way. I picked up one of those last week for St. Patty's Day, so I know how soft and nice and how you can move nicely in it.
Whoa, look at that move there.
Yeah, he's got a good move. The elbow's working, but I'll tell you this, you do not show up on the road on a road trip without a nice little golf pullover, don't you?
I always do.
Just in case there's some emergency 9 ready to be played.
I always have something. You've got to... I'm well prepared. Whether it's even the sleeves that just go underneath maybe a golf shirt, might get a little cooler, so you got the sleeves going on. And then you got to have, for sure, then you've got to have...
a little cashmere maybe, a little cashmere sweater vest.
Well, and that's all we wear is these pants anyway nowadays. Like it's
the stretchy pants.
You don't even need need to bring shorts anywhere. So I am always ready for sure. Somebody always calls, Uppy.
Yeah.
Always calls. And they're like, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? I'm like, no, not a whole lot.
Yeah. Well, let's just start off here. This is an absolute treat to have you in the studio. We've been working on it for a while because you are, to me, you're my most colorful, most smiling, vibrant human being that gets to hang out on the bench but doesn't get to play on my team. So, our team. But
that's Uppy. We've been on a number of teams together.
Yes, and the flights, bud. So let's start there. I miss the bird. I miss the bird, Panger. I miss that private bird, you can read about. And I know Shane O'Brien over there misses
the red wine.
And I'm in the back. So we're in the back. Chaser and I were in the very back row. So then there's that food area, and then the food gets taken away. Chaser and I had it set up so well. So we had it so that we tipped the girls, made sure that we had a little bottle of Grey Goose always ready for us. There was always a Perrier. I'm the lemon guy. He's the lime guy. The cup was sitting out with the ice ready to go. We had everything ready. We were rolling. We had the blankets. We had the pillows.
They had it all. They had their initials on their head. No one else had initials on their head.
It was spectacularly run by Kelly Chase, the CEO of Panger Vision for sure. And then we look behind us, and there's Uppy. He's got all those compressor things on his legs. He's changing in. He's got.
I didn't wear much clothes.
No gear on right there. And we're looking back, and I'm like, man, Chase, remember when we were in shape? And then we just turn around, have a cocktail, and then some of the coaches that didn't have them up front, they would slide back and hey, what do you guys got back here? We had our own little bartending area. It was great.
When we talk about National League, that's National League, and the thing I took out of there was you tip the flight attendant. So that's why you had your initials on there. That's why you had the blankets. Respectful.
Yeah, I always ask the trainers now too. I said, are the boys still tipping? Yeah. It's a lost art.
Is it really?
It's a lost art. That's why if I were a trainer, I would want my GM to make sure that he trades for a Kachuk.
Yeah,
because they get it. You know, they understand it.
Can-
They get it. They bring them out for lunch. They do what the old man, what Big Walt would have done.
Can we stay right there? How great are those kids?
They're awesome.
They've been unbelievable to me and Uppy in this podcast. We got lucky enough to spend some time with Big Walt. I walked into Maddie's house in Fort Lauderdale, which is a sick pad, and there's Big Walt, and I'm like, I'm going to take my time, all right? I'm not going to just, he's talking to, some people. Maddie eventually calls him over and says, Big Walt, come over here. And I sat there, and then lucky enough, Chelly walks in 5 minutes later. So I got Big Walt and Chelly. Walt's got the cigar going. The Bud Lights are flowing, but just a great family, huh?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I love being around Big Walt. We were lucky enough. Were you there? Were you on the Blues when Big Walt was retiring?
No.
You talk about the little things in life, fellas. Like he knew he was retiring, and he picked the games. We were St. Paddy's Day in New York City. Well, we stayed in and hunkered in at this little pub for hours and hours and hours. And he made sure, he knew it was his last ride. He made sure that he had all the trainers came by. All the players came by, the broadcasters for sure. Like it's an automatic. Here's a text. We're all going out to whatever pub it was. And we sat there for hours. And then he decided what other game he wasn't playing. When he did, he sent a text. Hey boys, we're going out. I've only got 4 more left in me. And just treated everybody with such great respect. And then we were in Calgary and we were at Joey Tomatoes. And we were sitting back there and I get a text and it's like, hey boys, head on over, drag the broadcasters, get them over to Joey T's. Matt's going to come over. He was playing for the Flames. And he's going to come on over and drop by, but I got all the trainers. And basically, Big Walt's sitting there. He's employed by the Blues, but he's there in Calgary spending time with Matthew. He's got the Calgary Flames quarter zip going on, but he's got everybody all around. He's got the Flames trainers. He's got the Blues trainers. Now Matt comes in, and know what he says to Matt? He says, Matt, stick around and have a few beers. I know you got to go. You got dinner with somebody else, but stick around, and then and you know what you're doing next? And Matty goes, I'm paying the bill, Dad. I know. Yeah.
It was great. Sorry, I'm
so good, huh?
We're at Maddie's house, and Big Walt goes, Where'd Brady go? And Maddie's like, fuck, God, I think he went home. He's like, not even mad. I'm just disappointed. He's a good kid, but I'm not even mad. I'm just disappointed.
That's great.
It was funny too how he mentioned he's like, Brady's here, and he doesn't even know he's in the All-Star game. He's just here like hanging out with his buddies.
You think he's just playing with his buddies back home?
He's like, look, it was the All-Star skills comp, and we were all up in this great suite that Vinny Viola just built, a little nightclub in there.
Oh, really?
Awesome.
Panthers Club.
No,
You'd
awesome.
like it, Panger. You'd like it, buddy.
Yeah.
And we were doing the smoky old fashioned.
Like the LA Forum. Like we raced out of the room to get to the Forum Club afterwards.
I bet
or
you
Dallas.
guys did.
Dallas had that good club at Reunion as well. So now it's the club in Sunrise.
I tried to get Moppy got 99 on our pod. I tried to get a bite on the Forum Club, but the great one's not going to bite on that. But I was like,
could he even go in there? Could he even go in there back in the day?
Back in the day, I'm sure he did.
Yeah. He had to have his own.
I'm sure he did.
Inside the Red Club, he had his own.
Yeah,
Red
but
Club.
you had all these other like really big superstars that hung out there.
Yeah.
That was the great thing about going there.
Yeah.
Is that. I mean, they look at me like you were the goalie that was little short bald guy who's like 24 years old.
Full disclosure, I watched a little highlight of you before this on Bernie Nichols came in, dished one to Steve Larmer. And he brought it to you came across the fucking crease, Panger, with the glove like this, and he went back on you. And he brought it to the backhand, and you went to the blocker like this. You were leaping. And then you fall back and he's got the empty net and your chicken wing there just goes boom and you save it.
I got it.
It's it's a highlight of the year.
And wait a second, that was in LA.
Yes, it was in LA. Because they had the yellow and purple jerseys on.
I had white pads, didn't I? Brand new white pads. First game I ever wore those white pads was that game. And I'll tell you a story about that one. And it's funny because it was an ESPN game. Bill Clement told me years later, and he was doing the game, and he said, here comes wee little Darren Pang and his wee little white pads. and I swear I just took them out of the box in Chicago. We flew there to LA. Bob Mason started the game. He was my partner. I love Bob Mason. He's a great guy. He started the game, but he never told me that he didn't really have success in LA. He didn't complete a lot of games. So, but Steve Thomas, Stumpy was injured. He hurt his shoulder. So Stumpy says to me, he says, hey, want to go to the beach, man? Have you ever been to LA? And I said, I've never been to LA. Let's go to Venice Beach after lunch. I said, great. Let's go to Venice Beach. We go there, they're pumping iron. We're walking up and down, fire the shirts off. We're pale white. I mean, it's just sick white. And we're going, nothing on us. Sun is beating down on us. And we're like, we should get going, huh? I'm like, yeah, we got to get going. We got to get there, and then we got to get in our suits, and I put on the suit. I'm like, oh, man, I'm red. Got to the rink, put on the gear, a little crusty, a little red, little bald head just beaten red, and warm-up starts. I'm pretty cool. L.A., this is awesome. 13 minutes into the game, Mace gives up 3. He's gone for the game. I got to put the mask on. I'm like, oh. Tuck it all in there. And that was the
yellow.
And that was the game. That was the game
that
right
was
there.
It?
Yeah.
See?
And then I went into Edmonton and Calgary on back-to-back nights and got to play. Like, that's the first time I actually got to play 3 in a row and got a feel for it. That save, I remember that save.
Yeah.
I didn't make very many, so I remember most of it.
We'll clip this and put it on there with
Really?
it. It'll be fucking juicy because it's a badass save. Like, I don't know if the people watching you daily on TNT or with the Blues really understand like your flexibility back in the day.
Yeah,
like
that was wicked, huh?
Yeah.
Man. I had a good glove.
I see it on the golf course. Like I see the turn. And
that's how I got that golfer's elbow.
Oh, buddy.
Right here and right here.
I had it too. Like, isn't it the worst thing ever,
Oh,
Panger?
it's brutal. You couldn't even...
I know.
I could barely go.
That's when you know you got to take some time off when you can't open the cold one after the round. I went in. This girl, Panger, she worked my forearm over for about 2 months.
They grind it downwards, right? Like
downwards, and I was just, I was crying on the inside. It was the worst thing ever. My dad's going through it right now. But luckily he's had 7 months off or 6 months off in Canada. So he's back.
Not exactly the happy ending you're looking for when I get digging into there.
No, exactly.
That's not good.
Hey, speaking of Great Western Forum, we go to a lot of concerts there, and like, what a great building, especially back in the day. It must have been unbelievable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like rolling up in there, and I can't imagine being Gretz and the Kings, but even as a visitor and a young kid, it must have been just like the old Great Western Forum, right?
You know what's neat is that I did that was that first year that you were talking about, Uppy. That was my first year was 87 full time, so that would have been 87. And then, so that year ends, and then, the next year, Gretz is there. So now you went from the purple sweaters to my next year, and I only played 81 games in the NHL, but I caught that cool moment of black and silver. And Gretz, the first time you go on the ice in LA now with Gretz playing is different. But that team that you talked about was with Bernie Nichols, with Jimmy Carson, with Luc Robitaille, Craig Laughlin, who's now, he's been a broadcaster for the Washington Capitals for a long time. He was on that team as well. And I'll get into one quick story because I said it the other night. Someone had mentioned that Yager and Lemieux were the only two on the same team to score their 50th goal in the same game. And there was the anniversary just the other day. I saw it. Someone posted it, and I'm like, I would have joined that group because I don't know what it was. The next time we were there, same team, but maybe in March, end of the year, we get in there and I'm playing a lot, but I have just a rotten stinking warm up. I'm starting in there. I give up 4 in the first period. Coach comes over, Wayne Thomas comes over, and he looks at me and goes, I think I'm going to take you out. And I said, you know what? I'm feeling okay. Like, I'm going to get it back. So I gave up 3 in the second. He comes over to me again. I go, nah. Give up 2. I'm like, I got better. I gave up 9. And in that game, Jimmy Carson scored 49, 50, 51. And I think at that time, he was the first teenager or one of the few teenagers to score 50 in a year. He had some great mitts. Jimmy Carson had some great mitts. And then Luc Robitaille scored 48 and 49. So we're getting ready for the third, and I'm saying, hey, boys, just don't let don't let him shoot it. Not let him score. Don't let him shoot it. And so he never got his 50th, but I would have been the second goalie.
Shot.
Somebody just blocked the shot for credit. He skates he's so slow anyway. Can somebody stop that guy?
Could Luc Robitaille really shoot it back in the day? He was just like, I feel like he had a big paddle and just went to the net.
I don't know what he did. Like, he'd be great in this day. The goalies, like Connor McDavid's goal the other night, he banks off the back of his head. That's what Luke would have done that all day long.
Really?
Because he had great mitts.
Who modern day would he remind you of now? Like a Luc Robitaille?
Well, who's slow with great mitts?
Patty Maroon.
He's slow and he's got good mitts.
Corey Perry.
Yeah. I mean,
like a big
that's a
lefty?
good question.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it
slow and good
No
mitts.
one's slow anymore except for those 2 guys.
Like
Tavares?
Tavares? Is he like a Tavares?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah, that's right. Sometimes, O'Reilly.
Yeah, the fact daddy.
Yeah, I had a talk with O'Reilly this year. He kept telling me, and he'll like this, because I was like, O'Reilly, how you doing? He was really struggling early on. He goes, I'm just trying to think quicker. I'm trying to get quicker. I'm trying to be quicker. And I went, O'Reilly, you're not going to get quicker. You've never been quick.
I wanted to be taller.
I'm like, you're never going to get any slower, because that's the way you are. And I said, like, Luc Robitaille stayed at the same speed all the time. Just do your thing. You'll be just fine.
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy? Like,
I love that O'Reilly.
I love him. He's the best. I met him when he was 20, but like, how much he.
You were in Colorado?
I was in Colorado.
Together?
Yeah. So I walked in and I was on a 1-year deal, but my 6th year in the league and don't know anyone on the team. And this fucking O'Reilly kid comes down with a flat brim hat on and looking swag. And I throw one of our favorite bands because the boys were playing too much fucking country. I'm like, enough. And anyways, he starts dancing to it and the rest is history. But his work ethic. But like the one thing that I sometimes with the Fact Daddy is he holds on to the game too much, maybe. Yeah. Right? Like you're saying, I got to get quicker. Buddy, you're a Stanley Cup Conn Smythe champion, captain of the St. Louis Blues. Just be yourself.
Yeah.
But he's always looking to like improve.
Well, can you imagine every single warm up? Because I go to my spot between the benches for every warm up, and for how many years? So 2000, we got him in 18, 19. So let's just call it. I'm just going to guess 5 straight years of watching him do the same thing every single warm up and not deviate from it once. We got guys in the league that don't even know which way to go around on the warm up. like
I was over just chatting with you the whole time.
Yeah. We messed over it over there. Yeah. But he goes through his routine and then he lays down probably 10 pucks and he goes through 10 pucks and he just a little sauce, a little chip, brings the pucks back in and then he chip. And then he does it again and he does it. So he chips it just over the puck. So it lightly gets over the puck.
Yeah.
Right. This is it. There, and he does it, and I watch every. I'm like, it's just discipline. It's discipline to get better. It's discipline to do the right things. When it comes to a game and your stick's right there, he's going to lay that puck is going to get over that. It's not going to be flat. It's not going to be picked off.
Yeah.
I love the guy. I just love him.
I used to come up to the gym in Denver. It was upstairs, and I come up like I pretended to do something, and he's on a fucking medicine ball, like fucking shooting pucks and fucking knocking. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I gotta get the core stronger. I gotta get the hands quicker. I'm like, let's go for lunch. Let's fucking go for lunch.
Let's have a cold beer in Denver.
Let me show you how you get this core stronger, all right? Let's go mix it.
I got this heat pack on my back here. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Oh, it's funny that you say that because I ran into Luke Shen. I love the Shen brothers. Yeah. I love them. They're just hot stove guys, right? And I run into Luke and he's in the hallway. We're in Calgary and I'm doing it might be Calgary and, it had to be Vancouver and Calgary early in the year. And he's sitting there, he's got the coffee going and he's in the hallway and they're on their bands and they've got the medicine balls. The guys got balls going up against the wall and he's got his leg crossed. He kind of looks at me, kind of gives me one of these here, like, puts coffee. He says, so what's going on around the league there, Pang? What's happening? And I'm trying to picture him in a Toronto Maple Leafs dressing room right now where it's like they run it like Apple. I'm not sure if you're allowed to hot stove in that thing. I don't know for a fact, but I saw the list of what they've got in their administration and how many people are there. I'm like, Luke Shen's like, I just want a coffee.
That's maybe why they brought him in, though, right?
Absolutely.
You got to bring a guy like that, and then I think Factor will help with that too. It just sucks that Factor got hurt, and right now he's not around the team. Right when you're hurt,
my little granddaughter Charlie loves Factor, and she finally said to me the other day, he got hurt again, and I said, yeah, and she goes, I said the goalie should stop those pucks. And she goes, yeah, Grandpa, you tell Ryan O'Reilly that.
Yeah, they're wearing the most equipment out there. The goalies, get the fuck out of them.
Like everybody, get out of the way.
Yeah.
Honestly,
that was in the ozone too, right? Like,
it was kind of an
your own
D,
just fucking.
Well, when he blocked the shot earlier in the year, I watched him do it, and it was the oddest thing. He stuck out his right leg, and that's when you know that it's not going well for you. He was doing things abnormally. Just whatever he could do desperately, or anybody does the same thing. You do the same thing, and you do. And all of a sudden, he stuck out his right leg, and he took it right on the boot. I'm like, oh, that's not the right.
When things weren't going good for me, I just took penalties. I'm like, fuck it, I'm just go
to the box.
But you're so right. When things aren't going your way, you're like, I got to do something more. Something more.
Yeah. And usually that means something different.
Yeah. Exactly.
Did you ever I was talking to my son Tyler about it. He still plays like men's hockey and whatever. Do you ever put a metal rod or a rod inside the aluminum sticks?
No, I never did that.
Okay. What's the sound?
On the PK.
Yeah, for a cross check.
On the PK, put a broom handle or something. I don't understand why guys don't do that. Remember in floor hockey when we were kids and you got those flimsy things?
Yeah.
I always put some kind of wood in there, so mine was always a little bit firmer. I could toe drag.
You're an innovator.
Yeah. You didn't do that? I'm surprised you didn't do that.
By the way, I'm checking your golf clubs today. There's no way.
You got them for me.
Up. Yeah. We'll dial you in.
Kid size, right? He picks me up at the hotel, opens up the trunk, and he's got this little kid.
Is his golf club?
I got a set of clubs for you.
That's great.
Where are the Blues putting you up? As a couple guys that missed the nice hotels. Where are you staying this trip?
I drove out to Anaheim to get them today at the old J-Dub.
Yeah, that new. Yeah, at least there's a
nice hotel.
It's a new one there. Yeah, it's good.
I told him, I'm like, Coop had the boys down at the Avea, their new hotel down.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's because Coop. Yeah, our boy Pickup just redid it. It's a beautiful hotel.
Oh yeah.
But that's because the Coop dog wanted to be down in the mix because he was playing Big Canyon and then he was going to a restaurant for dinner. Yeah.
And listen, our league's optional anyway. There's no morning skates anymore. There's no skates. It's optional.
That's because we're out of the league.
Hey, there's no defending anymore. That's optional. Yeah,
that's optional. Defending's optional.
It is optional.
You don't have to defend.
It is frustrating for me to watch.
Oh my God. You and me both, buddy.
Man.
What is the most frustrating thing ice level now that is so different than, the eras that you've seen pass? Is it just like the lack of
lots?
The one thing when you mentioned, how the younger players treat, the trainers or whatever, that's unfortunately, something that should have been carried on from generation to generation, right? It was the one thing I knew going in, like these old guys, this is what they did. They treated the trainers with respect and, take care of them. Now, like, what's the transition like and why are these younger kids making so much money now?
I guess there's a lot of
not giving it away to everybody.
There's a lot of frustration for me when I watch it. A lot of frustration when I watch it and I see a player. There's a couple of things that drive me crazy. They probably drive you crazy as well. I don't know about the evolution of a slash. I don't understand. And I say it to our players all the time. I said, I got to tell you, if somebody taps your hand and your stick drops from your hand and you put up your hands like this, basically you're embellishing.
Yeah.
And I said, I know this sounds like I'm an old guy, but why would you not hold on to your stick a little bit firmer? And why is the guy that gives you a little tap like that? It's the guy going to the penalty box. It's like the guy that has one hand on his stick and he's holding it like he just had a manicure pedicure. Yeah. You got to hold on to it. I don't know. In our day, and it's not that long ago, but coaches would skate around and bang, whack your hand.
Totally.
Whack your hand. Hold on to your stick.
2 hands on your stick.
They didn't say to the guy that slashed over top that they didn't blame that guy whatsoever. They blame the guy that didn't hold on to their stick. So there's a couple things, and when it happens, I don't like when they all go like that.
What about
that's really frustrating.
Complete reversal of, we talked about this the other day, but of a guy that gets tripped and calls off the penalty to the referee.
That was unbelievable.
Yeah. It's happened twice now.
Yeah. McHale was the first one, right?
Yeah.
Patterson did it the other night too.
Do you think they should just, yes, you trip, but you don't need to wave off a penalty, right? Like if they're going to call it.
It's funny you say that about the tripping because every time the tripping number one is the number one highest percentage call in the NHL. You're probably not surprised. I think it's 17.
Is it more than hook?
17 or 18%. Hooking's about 13%. Fuck. So I got a buddy of mine that sends me these stats all the time because he doesn't like referees. So he always says
send me his number, Pang.
He must not like Tim Field
and then what referee it is and what have you. Oh, my buddy Timmy. And so he goes through this whole thing. So tripping's easy.
Yeah.
But half the time, the stick's in the area. The guy takes a tight turn. You can see that the edges of his skate are going out, and the bottom of his boot catches the ice. And there's no tripping. I'm just interested when the playoffs do start. Is that percentage going to go down a little lower? You got to watch that real carefully, because you can't miss it. Hey, you can't miss that. I mean, a tripping call is still a 2-minute minor penalty, and it might not be the fault. So to have a player do that, I mean, it was when Cale did it. I saw what he was. You can kind of see as almost apologetic. It's like a guy that plays tennis and let cord, and he wins the match on a cheesy little shot.
We play pickleball. When it hits the net, you're sorry.
But
the pickleball is not the national hockey league. As soft as it gets, and I'm sure, and I love Cale Makar, and Uppy's right about Pettersson, and Pettersson's starting to grow on me. Great players, and I'm sure they're the great. I've never met a bad Swedish person in my life. I'm sure Pettersson's the nicest kid. However, you're still that sticker on your helmet. I don't even know if they have the NHL sticker anymore, but it's the NHL Panger, right? It's a penalty. Okay, it's gonna all even out, boys. Don't wave it off.
It does all.
Right? I'm gonna take a dumb one eventually. So to me, I just had a hard time with guys doing that. But
it's something that I haven't seen very often. And I've actually seen some referees actually go back on calls, which you don't see that very often either. I think they're doing a pretty good job. What I see at ice level is I think I see some referees that, we're going through a change. I mean, we got guys that don't have a lot of experience at our level, and they're sitting there and they're dealing with a head coach like a Craig Berube or a veteran coach like a Pete DeBoer or a Casta. We can go through the list of all the coaches, but and they got to look them in the eye and they got to address something with those guys. There's got to be a little intimidation, and it's going to take some time. I would probably like for the referees to go to the bench a little bit more often and explain some things.
Yeah.
I think that diffuses it a lot. I mean, you had Wayne Gretzky as your coach, and Wayne was an inexperienced NHL coach, but people probably forget he was really intense. Like he was so into it.
His voice would be so high.
It was so into it. But all he wanted was, and the referees didn't want to maybe address him. He's the greatest ever. But when they came over to him, everything calmed down. And it's the same thing with everything. I had a situation the other night where Craig Berube just wanted an answer. Why is there a double minor up there when you told us it was only a minor? It says 4 minutes. You told me to get over here. The referee wouldn't come over. Now he's getting angrier and angrier. Yeah. And it's like, oh, man.
Same thing, Panger, happened the other night. They called Helm and Crosby, and they gave Helm the extra one for, fuck if I know what the extra was for. He gave him an extra hold. And Bednard was trying to tell the ref, come over, I want to talk to you. It doesn't come over to him. Bednard had to come out early after the intermission and wait for the ref.
To just have a conversation.
Just want
to have a conversation with him.
Like the Stanley Cup winning coach had to come out early. Yeah. Like that to me is, come on, get over there and talk to him during the play.
Plus, it's a better game when the refs are talking with the players, and it's a more like civilized,
controlled,
calm
you're
game.
Right. Same with linesmen.
Yeah.
You know, I'm lucky to be. We were talking about O'Reilly a little bit ago, but I'm lucky to be there, especially when there's a commercial break. The linesmen come over to between the benches. That's where their water is. So they come by, and the really experienced face-off centermen, they make sure they slide over there. And I remember one time in particular, O'Reilly being a left-hand shot, he likes to get his right skate out. He likes to boot his right skate out. And this one linesman had a tendency or a habit to boot his left skate out. And he kept blocking O'Reilly. And so, you learn a lot. So I just take off my headset and I was just kind of listening in and I'm like, After the game, I got to ask O'Reilly, but it was a respectful conversation. So the linesman's like, oh, I get what you're saying. All he was saying was, can you just square up? And don't keep shifting. Yeah. If you're going to shift the other way, you know, then box him out a little bit.
And O'Reilly's like, I'm going to kick you out of this face off, sir. You know who I am here, bud? I'll get my guitar and I'll play a tune.
You're speaking of that, and you got to kill, that took me a while to realize you got to kill the refs with kindness and the linesmen.
Yeah.
But down between those benches, is there any chirping going on between the guys anymore? Is there any like, hey, I saw fucked your girlfriend.
Who is the best?
That's been quiet, Obie. That's been quiet. That stuff was common stuff. I mean, you know, even when I was a player, there were no regulations.
No way.
Like there were no regulations whatsoever. Hey, fella. No, it was if
Fellows, you fucking superstar.
Oh, yeah, that was an epic chirp of all time, epic. You know. But there was, you know, the best one still is probably like, you know, Revo is probably, I mean, he's still right up there.
Yeah, he is.
Patty for sure too. I mean, Patty, because Patty just says stuff. You know, and Patty,
the big rig,
like the big rig says stuff. And like when I was between the benches for the Winnipeg series, and the big rig skates by. You know, he kind of just slowly skates by. We're in Winnipeg. It's the first round of the playoffs, and somebody on Winnipeg made the mistake of saying something to him and called him a fat ass. And that and he'll sell.
Boy, that hurts. I know how that feels. That fucking stinks.
But he'll tell you the same thing. That's you know that he comes back and he's heard it all before. You've heard it all before. I've heard it all before. And so he does a little twirl, and he's slow and very calculated. And Revo's very calculated. Yeah. Steve Ott's very calculated. But he skates right by, and he goes, "That's right, boys. Fatty Patty Hockey is back." And the way he said it was like a talk show. It was like Johnny Carson, you know, welcoming everybody back to the show. And then he skated, and somebody tried saying something else, and I could just see Paul Maurice like, oh, guys, let's settle her down, you know. Yeah. So but there's been a couple of good ones. Revo had a one that I won't go into detail with it, but it was him and Evander Kane. Kaner was playing in Buffalo. Revo was playing with the Blues. And it was incredible what he said to Evander Kane and how he said it and how he thought it out. And the
deliveries, everything. But speaking of that, the other night, Revo and Shaw They were all over Binner. Could you hear?
Oh, yeah. I was right there.
They were
yeah.
fucking all over him every TV timeout. Right? And that's, I think, what had a little bit to do with Binner losing his mind.
What do you think? Well, what were they saying?
I don't know, but it would go TNT back at Panger, and then they would show the bench, and Revo and Shawzy would be over, and Binner would be yelling back, and I was like, I wonder what they were. I don't know if you can hear them.
Binner would have been just like, Revo, I got your ring, bud. Like, I don't know. It doesn't fit. It probably doesn't fit you, but it's like, that'd
be a good comeback.
What do you yell at Binnington for? I mean, you score 5 on him in the second. Well,
I think that's what it was. Yeah. I think you give up 5, and you're gonna you're gonna get the crowd going.
I think.
It was after.
No, it was right before. It was before Binner lost his mind on Hartman.
Oh yeah. I think that's right. That's when Hartman said he's going to go. Hartman did say that.
They scored like 3 straight on him, 4 straight on him, and I think they just saw the steam coming out of Binner's ears.
Hartman told the referee, "Heads up, it's coming."
Yeah. Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Revo and Shaw were all over. I'm like, this Binner's going to lose his mind.
Because Binner poked somebody right in the noodles a little bit earlier on, and so.
Let's talk about Binner for a second.
Yeah.
He wears his heart on his sleeve.
Yeah, sure does. Yeah.
I love the kid.
Yeah.
He always told me he wanted to have his own story. Like, the way he just didn't want to be like this just average goalie that comes in, makes the National Hockey League. He wanted to have like his story. And fucking he's built a story. Now, some people might say from afar looking at it, and maybe within the group, does he do too much? Like sometimes you hear, does he just stop pucks? But Shane will always say, Obie will always say this. I want a goalie that cares, that like shows fucking that he's going to do it, because no one else is sometimes, right?
Patrick Waugh did it for a lot of years. When Patrick Waugh wasn't playing well, he'd find almost that. I like to compare it to the great tennis player John McEnroe. And the way that McEnroe could kind of generate energy out of a negative. He's playing brutal, hitting poor shots. Next thing you know, it's the umpire, the referee's fault. Yelling at the referee, slamming a stick, slamming everything, yelling at the fans, yelling at everybody, yelling.
It's like Kyrgios, the same way he plays. Yeah.
Bang,
love that guy.
And then bang, and then it turns it back on. Now he's going again. And I think Binnington has a little bit of that when things aren't going well. He just, he tries to generate some momentum, and he tries to generate some energy and some, He's tried his ass off all year long.
Yeah.
Like people that just see the clips of what he does and they might have some negative thoughts on Jordan Binnington for that. I see him every day. I talk to him. I think he's a very calculated guy. I think that he has played so hard all year long, and they've given up so many unbelievable chances against him. So for the people that think that that's just him, that they are wrong. He's got a lot to him.
Yeah.
And maybe sometimes there's been too much onus on him, and he got a break. I mean, that 2-game suspension. Craig Berube didn't play 2 games. They kept Joel Hofer in the net. So I wonder if it was just kind of maybe it was a resetting thing, or maybe hey bud, like we said it before, all this kind of stuff right here. If you want to stir it up in the net and you want to do what you want to do, we're good. Like we should battle together, and we're losing. You gave up 5. You're frustrated, but maybe there's some things that we can calm down and we can learn from them. But.
Yeah. And I looked at it from the angle. Maybe Chief went to him and said, "Hey, Binner, listen, it's been a long year. All right, let's just we're gonna go with this kid. Have a seat here. I don't know. He'll probably get back in the net, but to me, and I've watched Binner a lot. His numbers don't indicate the year that he's had.
Not at all. That's what I was saying. The quality chances against him, it's been unbelievable. Like I bet there's been some games where it's been 19-22 inner slot shots, high quality shots, whatever, high danger shots. I just call them, grade A's. Whether the dot to dot or deflections or quick little one-timers or 2-on-0s, 2-on-1s. Like he's been underwater, and he's played
guys,
hard.
We're quick to forget last year in the playoffs just how close he was to stealing a series against the champs, right?
Oof.
Like it was
turning.
It was turning. It was completely turning.
It had you worried.
I had my money on the Avs. I was after game.
Was it
game 5 they went in? Game 5 they went in to beat the Avs. I was like, oh fuck, here we go.
And boys, he had their
that first game that he played when he stopped 50 or whatever. It's like nobody can go into that building and do it. Like they're a hard team to play against. Like they've got that is so creative, and especially when you've got Rantanen and you've got Landeskog, 2 of the best net front presence guys. Besides all the other stuff that's going on, it's for me as a goaltender, it was all about how do you get those guys out of the way. You can't. once they get dialed in, once Landeskog gets plugged in there, you're like, good luck. And then he's got the good hands. Yeah. And then here comes Rantanen, and then Burakovsky was there as well, and he's sliding around. And then there's Makar going. How you make some of the saves against that team is beyond me, because they are all high-end shots. Even a little wrister from the point is a high-end shot just because of the traffic.
Totally. And then you
unbelievable team.
You got McKinnon doing his thing with the tight turns and stop and start.
Goodness.
I mean, their power play. Like, you're a PK guy. I watch them even this year when they've been bagged up, but last year especially, like, I'm like, how do you kill this penalty? They're never in the same position.
Just never.
They're just, you're like, it's impossible.
You see
almost.
Edmonton's power play the other night?
Oh my God.
It was just. I actually said on the air, I'm like, somebody got to shoot the puck.
I said this to Cooley on Thursday. Bouchard, I get it. It's hard when you got 97 and 29.
But somebody's got to shoot
fucking pound it, because that's why he's out there.
And he's got a good shot.
That's his thing. Pound it.
That's where Tyson Barrie was and Tyson is a slicker distributor.
Yes.
You know,
for sure.
You know, like,
but the worst thing,
looks one way, goes the other way, buy some time, bring somebody to you. Now you got it. Now you got a lot of time. Bouchard doesn't have that natural ability. He's just got a big bomb.
I agree.
Sorry to cut you guys off. You remember watching the game with Teddy Purcell, the Islanders playoff game when we were at Cons?
Yeah. And
he talked about Adam Oates a lot. He talked about the philosophy that Oates has brought into the league, right? And a lot of players, the Kucherovs, the Stamkoses,
that have hired him,
O'Reilly, Shen, they all these guys have hired him. Yeah. And on the power play, if you watch Kucherov, for example, in the ozone, the guy doesn't leave the right side, his forehand side, the whole shift. That's where he is. He knows the puck's going to come over to him. He knows all his line mates are going to bring it to him. If you watch Vladdy played a lot like that too. He wouldn't go below the circles. Never a fucking F1. Just ask his line mates, ask Schwartzy about that. But, when I look at the D-man, Adam Oates said, you can never get a shot blocked from the top. Never, ever, because it's going to fuck up all the momentum. And I see Bouchard like a little hesitant on letting McDavid down, who can come up and wheel down and make a play. But if he gets those shots blocked and it goes all the way down, he's got Draisaitl yelling at him in German. He's got fucking McDavid just going, give me the puck back. So
he's got Hyman saying, I'm here.
Just
hit the net.
Just hit me with it. Yeah. But the power play they have is they're going to break a league record, I think, this year.
They're at 30%, right?
Yeah.
30.1%.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
The best since like the Canadians in 70-something.
77. So, You're right. One of my favorite teams growing up was
I would
team.
say
if
I was in the PK,
Wood SC.
If I was in the PK room, and I'd be like, when 97 goes up that high, someone fucking follow him. I don't care what goes on over here, but when McDavid comes
he's
up,
going to beat you down,
and they give it to him here, and he attacks, and you're this D-man.
Because he leaves the zone for a second.
Yeah,
he does.
I got no chance.
He just has a little bit of a button hook.
Yeah, and he comes out, and he's just going. I mean, there's no stopping, but he's just going like this.
Then you got Draisaitl and Nuge playing 4-on-3 down low. It's a recipe for disaster.
I said it on the air the other night. How many burgers do you think he can flip with that blade? I thought 4. I thought I could put 4 good patties on that.
Yeah, it's like that fucking thick. Yeah.
It's a burger flipper for sure.
It's long. It's a Datsuk.
I think it's Datsuk's twig, isn't it?
Datsuk stick.
Yeah. Is there a better backhand passer in the league than him?
How about those 2 he threw to McDavid in overtime? The first one was
unbelievable.
Yeah, you're like, whoa.
That was
on the tape.
Yeah. That's the thing about being between the bench. You look down for a second, or you see somebody. In fact, when that happened, I sent out a picture. Vincent Desharnais. You got to meet this guy.
I like his game.
You got to meet this guy. He's just a lovable big guy.
Yeah.
And he was in my way because he stands there, and I look at him. I go, don't think you're going out for the 3-on-3, big fella? And he goes, no. Oh, he goes, oh, sorry about that. And he steps back so I could see,
Yeah.
But
you're like, I'm going to tell the coach to throw you out there, give you a shift because you're a good guy. You moved over. I was like,
and I can't see the play.
Yeah. I'm like, Panger, he ain't getting out there.
But that backhand sauce, that was from blue line to blue line, or was it even top of the circles to blue line?
Yeah, that was top circle, no looker. And the first pass he gave Nuge on the goal that tied it up was, that was a sauce.
Do you know who wasn't a star in that game? I waited for the stars of the game.
Which D was getting roasted the whole time?
McDavid was not a star in that game.
What?
Well, because Nuge had 2.
Keller had 2.
God, Kel's so great.
So they went to the visitor, which, usually if it's a win, they just, dust them off and go to the home team.
And then tell me who got another one.
Draisaitl.
Nuge was first.
Yeah. Draisaitl second.
Yeah.
And then Kel's.
Yeah.
Clayton Keller's been another guy that's been great to our podcast. He's playing unbelievable.
Has he been on the podcast?
Yeah, that Arizona team in general, they fucking cost me on the puck line that night, by the way. But
I text him in the second period. I go, what is going on?
They play hard.
They do.
They play with structure. They compete, and they got good goaltending.
At one point, I don't think it was I think it was in a commercial break, but I said to Brendan Burke, my play-by-play guy, he does a great job with the Islanders. He's good, calls a great game. And I'm like, Berkey, who would be a harder out in a 7-game series? The structure of Arizona, or the Oilers? And it was nothing against the Oilers. It was just a compliment to what they've done.
Yeah,
they play hard. They play that.
No, it's a little shot to the Oilers. Their structure needs to get a lot fucking better.
It does
in a hurry. Like if they play the LA Kings, I know.
So I think they're going to play Vegas.
Yeah, you might be right.
I think LA is going to win this division.
You think
I do.
So?
Yeah.
They very well could.
I do.
They very well could. I just think I guess when you have 97-29, I'm not going to bet against them. But when I've watched the Oilers
and Eckholm too.
Yeah. Eckholm's been great.
What a great pickup that is.
Great pickup.
Did you play with him? Or was
no, I had beers with him one time.
He's awesome.
He's like a big old Viking.
Do you know that his wife from 8 hours north of Stockholm?
Yeah. Wow. So she was fired up to go to Edmonton because it's like home.
They were so on Tuesday. He's telling me that they were at a hill and it was freezing, and they were like, "Oh yeah, hours we stayed out there. Hours." Wife loves it. And you know what else? What's really crazy being Canadians, and I've never owned a house in Canada. So I turned pro in '84. By the time '86 turned around, I was living in the States full time. And I bought there, but he cannot buy a house in Canada. He's looking, he wants to buy a house. He's got term on his deal. He'll probably sign an extension to be an Edmonton Oiler. And Canada won't allow anyone like him in his position, whether it be a doctor or anybody else, to buy a house in Canada because he hasn't proven taxes for 3 years. And so he is not able to. He's in an Airbnb.
What?
So I said to Kenny
He'll
Hall,
thank
and
himself
I said,
later. He doesn't need a place.
I said, Kenny, why don't you buy the house?
Yeah,
for sure.
Someone buy him a house.
You buy the house that he wants. Yeah. You guys can work it out. Yeah. Keep that big fella happy.
Yeah. Someone buy a house.
I'm sure he can live in the wing that McDavid built. He's got a nice little shack. Yeah.
I would imagine so.
Yeah, just take the left wing there.
The left wing.
Yeah.
I buzz around every morning. I just do my stick handling drills inside.
Do you think Kenny Holland did a little background check on where Eckholm was from and realized that he would like coming to Edmonton?
That's a great point.
Yeah. Because when I heard that, I was like, this guy's a great player and he wants to be there. Because me and Updogg bang on Edmonton all the time. Like it was, now it's obviously because McDavid, but still it's a tough place to live, obviously.
Yeah. No, I think doing your research is essential.
Yeah.
I mean, there was probably a couple of guys that he passed on that now he's thinking, this worked out pretty well for me.
It's funny you say that too, and sorry, Panger, but at the last little bit of my career, the year the Blues won the Cup, the year I still tried to play, Edmonton, I was up there. It was a dream for me to be up there. And I questioned that a lot when I was like, holy shit, I was that excited. But it was my hometown team.
Yeah.
But for a lot of guys who don't see that special kind of situation, they're just like, holy shit. Yeah. Or and you went up to Calgary, and it's not like Calgary's that bad of a place, but
that's where careers go to die, Panger. That's where careers go to die, buddy. Well, the thing about Edmonton, when you were there on a tryout, you would send me videos of their dressing room, and I was lucky enough to play in Vancouver, where you were. Yeah. Our everything was great. Like our change room was like a country club. You go in the back.
In
Van. It was unbelievable.
They did a great job with that.
But if you're in Calgary and you got to go in the Saddle Dome, and then it's outside, it's -30. Like at least in Edmonton.
Do you have indoor parking in Calgary for your car?
They don't have it in Calgary, right? It's crazy.
You sit out. You come out, your fucking cars.
First game I did there, I just on the air, I actually said it. I said, "This has got to be a big change." And whoever my partner was talking about, for Jonathan Huberdeau, the style of play. I said, no. I said it's the Lamborghini and flip flops versus the
you did say that.
The mucklucks in the Ford big truck. You're like.
Panger, they took a picture of Weegsy Baby and Hubie going in at the start of that game. I'm like, take a picture of them in January going in there. They're going to just be like hanging their heads.
It's not easy.
It's not easy.
And some aren't meant for it. And here we have Eckholm. He's meant for it. And he's thriving and he loves it. And he just looks like he's played there for 20 years.
Yeah.
And he's perfect for the Edmonton Oilers.
I want to switch gears just TNT for a bit. We love what you guys do at TNT. Yeah, we love it. And I'm so happy that I love the West Coast games, usually the late one you're on. We are here West Coasters. We're always watching you. But bring in your dream call with a game. Who's involved? Who's your play-by-play guy? Who's your color guy? Who's your maybe guy that you go to and then...
That's thought-provoking.
Yeah, I don't want to get you in trouble because you're going to leave some guys out here. But who have you enjoyed the most working with? Who do you look up to and that sort of thing? What would be your dream call game?
That's a good call. Well, I mean, number one play-by-play is Dave Strader.
Straights. I had him for sure. Yeah.
You had him, and he was just, we met each other in I think oh my God, 96 maybe, where we really got to know each other. Tom Mees was my first broadcaster. The late Tom Mees loved hockey, great man. Ended up in a terrible swimming pool accident where he drowned in his neighbors in Hartford. And so the next year, we signed Dave Strader from Detroit to do several games. And then when the passing of Tom Mees came around, then Dave Strader was my partner. And he's musically gifted. He's lyrically talented. You know, you want to tease for the game, and Scotty Upshaw's coming in, kind of bebopping around. He'd come up with something that it rhymed, it sang together. It was brilliant. I've done a lot of work with play-by-play guys that couldn't say live in Calgary. Here we are in the Saddledome, right to the broadcast booth. You know, I mean, some guys have it, and some guys don't have it. Yeah. So, I mean, on all sides of it, I mean, on a social aspect, on a funny side, on storytelling, and as an analyst, you know, when you're doing a game, you know, the guy's got to know who you are, because you're going to say something out there, which I do, and someone's got to catch it. Yeah. You know, otherwise it just dies in midair, and it's it's no good. You know. So I mean,
crickets, crickets.
Yeah, crickets. It's like the puck back in the corner, or whatever it might be, you know. But you know, Strage was, and God bless him. He passed away from cancer, and he fought to the bitter end, and so anyway, he would definitely be, would definitely be the guy. I've done a lot of games with a lot of people, and so it's hard. I tell you, one guy that I enjoy being with, and we've never worked together in a game, is Ray Ferraro. I mean, we've gone to Ireland, we've gone to Scotland, we've gone to Bannon Dunes, we've done games. Everybody calls us Harry and Lloyd. Like, we are dumb and dumber when we're together. It is amazing. Like, you know, we're playing Old MacDonald at Bannon Dunes, and we're at the range, and we go the wrong way, and we're late for our tea time. The tee box is right over there, and somehow we go the wrong way, and we're late, and we're, you know, like, so I like that.
We've been late for a couple tea times too. But
just stupidity.
It was usually the night before that got us. But
like, I've always been. I mean, not always, but I've primarily been between the benches. I worked last year for one round with Shane Knighty, and he was up top, and I was down below, and we really had a good chemistry together. And you know, we like going out. We like the same dinners. We like going out for the same cocktails. We like playing golf together. So those are important for me, especially in the playoffs, when you got a chance to, you know, you're grinding it out. You're really working hard together. So, it's
a good crew.
I haven't put a lot of thought into everybody. So that's a tough one. I would love to have worked a game with Danny Gallivan. I mean, that was my Montreal Canadiens play-by-play guy. I mean, we got all the Montreal Canadiens game, and he was the one with the scintillating, you know, slap shot and a Canadian drive, and Lafleur down the wing, and you know, that whole thing. So Dick Irvin and he. So those were my legends growing up. And Dan Kelly, actually, my play-by-play partner is John Kelly. Yeah. His dad Dan is one of the greatest of all time. He's a Hall of Famer. You should hear this guy call it. He called the '87 Canada Cup. So if you get a clip of it, the 6'5", that's Dan Kelly. Okay. And unfortunately, he passed when he was only 52 years of age. So, but he would be a guy that I would like to do a game.
John calls a great game.
John does call it a very simple game. Yeah, just calls the game. Doesn't get caught up in anything else.
Coach's dream, Just keeps it simple.
Just keeps it simple. Yeah, just, dumps
doesn't
it
go to his backhand. Just keeps it simple.
I bug him. I bug him with music, and he doesn't know music. So then he's just rattled, and afterwards he'll say, I don't know much about music, huh? And I'll be saying things like, they're if you're playing Porter or something, I'll be like, they're waist deep in a big muddy, you know what I'm talking about, John? Old Bruce Springsteen there, and he's like, and he's funny for me because he plays a straight guy, and I goof around a little bit.
Yeah. I like Jonesy and Enzo.
Me too.
I like Jonesy and Enzo for the fact that I feel like they're buddies, and Jonesy will always make fun of himself too, which I think
Jonesy's got great self-deprecation.
Yeah, he's the best. Like, so when I love watching those guys do.
I just love Jonesy. Like everything about him. He's just like. He goes to the Winter Classic in Minnesota, and I say to him, "Hey, Discover and Truly." I said there's been COVID issues, and I think some of the guys couldn't show up. Maybe it was Mike Madonna, it might have been JR, and we got a last minute call. So I said to Niner, Craig Connolly, I'm like, "Hey, Niner," I said, "Listen, I want Jonesy to come with me. If I'm going to do this, and sure." Jonesy comes, he's got dress shoes on, he's got pants on. It is freezing. It is like minus 400. Jonesy doesn't, whatever. And he just does it, smile on his face, doesn't complain, doesn't say a word. Yeah, he's a great, everybody, you know what, Obie, producers, directors, tape people, audio people, when a guy walks into a room and they all want to they're excited, that means they treat you well.
Exactly.
Like, I learned that from Barry Melrose, years and years ago. He just was liked by everybody, treated everybody great. He just treated them like good people, like he was a teammate. And then you get in there, and some guys that you think would have, maybe more team composure, and they don't treat them well. You're kind of like, man, that disappoints me. We're hockey players.
Yeah.
So we've got to treat everybody well. Shit's going to happen. These things aren't going to work. A replay's not going to work. There's gremlins in the building. Stuff's going to happen. I swear to God, when you go through the business, I'm at 34 years. Lots of stuff has happened. You just got to keep going along, and you try not to lose your mind.
It was like
good to people.
The poor video coach under John Tortorella in Tampa. Hey, Nigel, you just come in, you just hope the fucking, I'm like, oh, Nigel, you're fucking in shit this time. And he's like, Tort's like, you fucking kidding me, Nigel?
And how about Nigel still there?
He's going to be the Tom Brady of video coaches.
He's got still in Tampa?
4 rings.
Wow,
stick tap to that guy right there. That's awesome.
You'll love this, Panger. This is years ago when we have practice. We go to the Yankees Red Sox spring training in Tampa, right? So me and Paul Ranger go, we can't find our seats. Long story short, Torts is there because he's a New England guy, right? And Nigel gets me on his fucking whatever he had back then, a phone or whatever. Next day we're coming in for pregame, pre-scout, and Torts is like, well, boys, Shane O'Brien, we trade him for a first round pick, and we talked about being a pro, and it's really starting to fucking pay off. And fucking they hit the thing. I got two big beers and 2 foot-long hot dogs walking up and down the fucking. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, what are the fucking chances that fucking happened?
Nigel, you prick.
Yeah, I love Nigel. He got me.
That's funny though.
Yeah, he got me. He's really Torch goes.
That's why he's still there.
He's really turned into a pro. And there's 2 big beers and 2 hot dogs. I'm like, Jesus.
On the video?
On the video.
That's classic.
In front of all the boys.
I would need a telestrator. That's a telestrator. He's got the 2 dogs here, a little ketchup and mustard. You got to love the dogs. And look at OB. He's got no problem with the weight too. He's going to be good right there. You got the 2 big beers. Yeah. Lights though, right?
Lights for sure. If you're going to have a dog, you got to go lights.
Yeah, blue light.
I wanted to ask you about when you're on the panel for TNT this year. You did the panel one time, correct? Mm-hmm. Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, very much so, OB. I like being on the panel.
Yeah, I thought you were good at it.
I actually originally signed the deal thinking that was the deal I was signing, was to be on the panel.
Okay.
So Wayne had, when I talked to TNT about it, Wayne was looking probably for somebody a little like familiar with him. I think he wanted to make sure that there was some comfort there. And so I was like, oh, that'd be great. I'm already looking at golf course in Atlanta. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. Play golf, get there on the Tuesday morning, play some
East
golf.
Lake, play some East Lake.
There we go. And then, they made the change, and I think, Biz came kind of into play, and Ace lives in Atlanta. He's close by, and I think his desire was maybe to do that more than games out west. Didn't make much sense.
So he does live there.
And so, so he lives right there. So then, and then you have, Gretz doing how many games Gretz does. Less is more.
Yeah. I like Gretz's schedule.
Me too. I like that schedule. As he says, you got to earn your nickname.
Yeah, that's true.
He's earned his. And so, but then when I got on there, I like it. I did it for TSN back in the day.
Yeah.
And I did it for Sportsnet. So I always had that combination of doing the games, and then I, go into Canada and I do the studio. I mean, working with Bob McKenzie, James Duthie, and that group was phenomenal.
James Duthie is the best.
Unbelievable. He is unbelievable. But I like the creativity of TNT. And I'll tell you what, OB, one of the things that, they do a lot of things great, but the set is great. Oh, the set is outstanding.
Me and Uppy said that
you're
too.
Not, it's not flat on the goal line. It's perfect. I mean, you are that guy there. You got the eye contact. You've got Liam distributing, and Ace was to my right, and Talk would normally be to the left right there. And I just think that the way that they do it is it's high end, it's creative. They let you go, they let you do your thing. And I think hockey fans have really enjoyed that. I do. I think there's such an appetite for just realness here in this world that we're living in right now, that everybody's looking with a fine home tooth about everything that gets said. They're keeping it real. I think the players enjoy it. I do believe that they've had some adjustments, OB, with you've got a player on the ice, you're waiting for the interview, the guys are in the studio, they're dicking around a little bit, the players are waiting, because I'm usually the guy that's between the benches, and the players are looking at me like, so they've cleaned up some things to make sure that the players, okay, let's take care of those players right away, and let's get rid of, they had the IFB, they tried that for the warm-up, most of the buildings are too loud, they couldn't hear them, so now they've brought them to the bench, and so I think TNT's done a great job, and having ESPN as a partner is good too, because now you've got competition, and it's it's good. Like I like all the guys. I've worked with the majority of the guys at ESPN, and the other day I was just last night. Andrew Raycroft was doing the set for the college hockey. I've known Razor for a long time.
Razor in Vancouver.
Yeah, and I'm like, I sent him a note. I'm like, hey, great job, Razor. I said, I know it's been a long day. Keep that energy going, buddy. You know, it's you got to keep it. You got to keep pumping them. And I love contacting guys. And I like getting a call from like Chris Chelios asking me what would be a good question about something. I think that's great. Like I think it's. I just enjoy our business and I enjoy the guys, and I've been around it a long time, but I'm not saying I don't know everything about the business, but I like sending notes to guys to say great work or, that's basically what I said.
I had to bounce a few things off you last year in the playoffs too, where that's I was like, they're going to come to me with these hits and I'm almost like a color guy. Although I'm in the corner with all the fans, which is fucking crazy.
That was great though. And you were at ice level. That was good.
I mean, watching those two teams play in the conference finals, Edmonton, Colorado, was awesome. But I also, to touch on TNT and ESPN, it gives the players, like when a player has to wait a couple minutes to jump on this thing after a game, it gives them such a platform now.
Yeah.
Where it's not Versus. We're not on Versus anymore. Yeah. We're not, Versus, remember that?
I do.
But this is such a, you're going on Scott Van Pelt after a game if you have a highlight. Yeah, there's 10 million people watching you.
That's exactly
come on and show your personality and be like, your face for the league, have a smile on your face.
And think about what you're doing too. Like, like Connor McDavid was on the other night and Connor's, he's a reserved guy. He's not a guy that's going to, he's going to go out and start getting goofy on you, but he had this shit-eating grin on his face, which was great. Yeah. And you could tell, there's just, you can't force it out of guys.
Yeah.
And
even if you just got 60.
That's what Biz is great at, right?
Yeah.
Biz can loosen guys up to the point where they almost want to make fun of Biz just because, right? Like McDavid couldn't wait to make fun of Biz kind of, right? Yeah. Like Biz kept poking him. Then finally he's like,
bang.
He's like, you're exactly where you should be, Biz.
Yeah, that's a great comeback.
What do you mean by that? He's like, no, you're good at what you do. But it was a shot at Biz, like that Biz brought out in McDavid. So that's why.
When you were 12, didn't he go back on his minor hockey days?
Yeah, he's like, when you play, he lost me there, but Biz is a talented man, and I think he really gets the guys loosened up.
You know what this might be, OB and Uppy, is that we're probably going to the same guys a lot. There's a reason for it. Is because they have the personality, and maybe this will push other guys. That hey, you know what? You got an opportunity to get out there and show your stuff. You could be wearing a Missin Curfew hat that you want to promote, or you could be a number of things. But getting out there and your family sees you on TV. Maybe you watch these guys and say, okay, maybe I could be a little looser, maybe goof around a little bit, know, and we have a couple of guys on teams that you're just like, come on, lighten it up a little bit.
No, I know some guys. Sometimes guys.
I'd rather go for root canal than do the interview. With the guy,
they'll come on Cooley's show. Some of these kids I don't know, and I got like 3 questions for them, and they'll answer it in 2 seconds, and I'm like.
Hey,
6 questions. Yeah, now I'm like, give me something here. And I'll tell my producer, Brucey, I'm like,
that's Brucey Bolton?
Yeah, Brucey
Come on,
Bolton.
Brucey
like,
boy.
Maybe stay away from that kid next time.
And that's what happens, So people say, well, why do you have the same guys? Well, because those guys have great personality. Yeah. That's it. And there's way more out there that have great personality, too. We just haven't maybe touched on them just yet, And
last with TNT, I just got to ask you about Uppy hooked me up playing with 99. First time I ever met him. His legs and his ass, he looks like he could still play. Like his legs are still thick, and just how good a guy, huh?
Unbelievable.
Like you hear about how good of a guy he is, and you're like, but like it's true. Like,
he's just a great person.
Like it was a blast.
It was like second hole. I'm like, nice par, Wayne. He's like, what? You didn't have a TV growing up?
Yeah, I love that. I love that line.
TV where you grew up?
He told me I was before we came on here. He and I were going back and forth, and he's in, I think, I say Bahamas, right?
Yeah. Anyway, Baker's Bay, probably?
He's resting. Yeah. He's resting. So he said, well, ask Uppy about that 5-on-3 power play when I was coaching him in Phoenix. And he says, I think, Gretz got a good memory. He said, I think Lombardi might have been his winger.
Yeah.
Is that right?
He's my centerman.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he says, 5-on-3, I put them out there on the power play. Uppy comes back and he goes, Gretz, what am I supposed to do? I've never been on a 5-on-3 power play before. Gretz goes, get open. They only have 3 guys.
That's true. He says that. He's like, that coaching decision is why they don't hire me anymore. Putting you out there on that 5-on-3.
They only have 3 guys. That's great. But speaking of his memory, like
he's got a great recall.
And that was the thing I took away from it too. Like how much well, he loves the game, how much he gives back to the game, but how much he knows about the game still and watches and remembers and his stories. I was like, this guy is a great one on and off the ice for that reason to me too. Like,
Obie, you would have loved that. This was a tour. So I had 4 full years, with Wayne as the coach. And some of the things that were said and done, and I learned an awful lot about, number one, when Walter was alive, God bless his soul. This is an unbelievable guy. Besides collecting every single thing around, and he had to bring every bobblehead doll and every yearbook back and all that kind of stuff. But he, there were times where he was always on the team bus when he was with us on the road, always on the team bus, sat at the front. We'd arrive in cities and there would be, I'm probably not 400 or 500 people sometimes waiting for Wayne. The poor other players on the team, they never signed anything. It was never. It was Wayne. And Wayne would sign in the morning, go to practice, sign in the morning. Right? Everybody be waiting. Right? Come back after lunch, same people, sign again. Come back again, and Gretz would now come on. By the third time, you're getting ready for that 4 o'clock bus or 4:30 bus, Wayne would come up. Walter would say to him, "What are you doing?" Wayne says, "I signed for them this morning, this afternoon. They're the same people." Walter says, "Go back and sign." He says, "They've got to make a living too." The way he said it to him, and there's Wayne, walk down the stairs, go down there. And sometimes I see young players that don't even, merit signing something, and they don't even look at anybody. I'm just kind of like, you know what?
Yeah.
I get it that they're collecting. I get it, what they're doing, but you know what? Make an effort. I saw Wayne Gretzky for 4 years do whatever it would take. And Obie, he was classic. We'd be at a restaurant. We'd all be sitting here at the restaurant. There'd be a kid over there in the corner. Nobody could see that kid. And he'd look at either me or Darren Blake, and he'd go, "Hey, bring that young fella. He's in a yellow shirt. He's over there on the side. He's got a hat. Bring him over here if you can." But the man that's standing beside him, he's a collector. I've seen that guy. Don't bring him over. Bring the kid over. And we're all talking like this. It's like private CIA conversation. Next thing you know, we bring the kid in the yellow hat over here. Wayne signs it. Have a good day, kid. Moves over. Dinner continues on.
Yeah,
he sees everything.
Yeah, he does.
It's
no wonder
amazing.
he can pass so well. Eh? No wonder he can pass. Speaking of signing stuff, we finished the round at the Grove, and we're on like 16. He's like, "Obie, best hot dog in the planet here, by the way." I'm like, "Well, that's what I'm having for lunch." If the great one says the best hot dog ever, so they're like, "What do you want?" I'm like, "I'll take the dog," and then he signs the scorecard, and luckily I shot 79, which for me is amazing. So nice. I got it on my right on my TV to Shane. The great one. Like, how classy is that? Like,
he marked the score for everyone and gave you the scorecard.
Yeah, signed it for
him. That's great. From the Grove.
See,
that's classy.
That's something that, we've got great young players. Hopefully they pick up on some of these things that he does.
One thing that I get when I see Wayne, and I obviously grew up in an era with Wayne, right? Northern Alberta kid, but
I heard you were from Fort McMurray.
Fort McMurray, my man.
Cold up there.
Yeah, I brought Obie up there for my jersey retirement.
Fuck, I never felt
so
good for you.
Yeah, it was great.
I went up on a day. We get up there. Anyways, go ahead.
So listen, we're going through obviously an era change with the way the game's played, the rules, everything. I want to know if you sat all these kids in a classroom and would they know the stories of the second generation era of hockey where Wayne knew everything about the older players, right? Like everything. Do you think like Connor McDavid knows absolutely everything about Wayne Gretzky? Or do you think McCarr knows everything about Mario Lemieux or
George Cairo or
will they be able to carry on these stories of these older legends?
Some don't.
Because Wayne, who was hockey's greatest, and he spent all his time at a sport, he knew everything about Gordie Howe. It was like and they didn't have the internet. They didn't have anything.
Actually, more than even Gordie Howe.
Yeah, I mean, going way back, right? He still remembers.
He tells a story. He tells stories of first time Walter brought him to Maple Leaf Gardens because they got in free because they played, the game in the morning. And his dad would say, "You got to watch Bobby Clark. We're going to watch Bobby Clark. That's what we're going to watch." And Bobby Clark, which I didn't know, he was the first guy to set up behind the net. If he wasn't the first guy, he was the first guy in his area. So he said, "Watch Bobby Clark. Watch him go behind the net. Wayne, that's what he does." And, Wayne became the greatest there. They'd go to Buffalo and they'd watch Gilbert Perreault. And I'm like, "You're a Gilbert Perreault fan?" Like he throws out other guys, random guys that you wouldn't think of besides Gordie and other guys. But he's like, Gilbert Perreault. When I saw him skate, oh my God. To answer your question, there are guys that absolutely hot stove it up still to this day and still do know who the players are. Yeah. And then there are players that unfortunately they don't. and they don't want to talk about hockey. They don't watch hockey. They play video games. And I'm not saying that playing video games versus watching hockey is different, because a lot of guys like video games. But I'm just saying that you wake up the next morning and did you see that? You see that game? You see that save? You see that stuff? There's a ton of guys that are still like that, which is good.
That's great.
Which is great.
So he told a story about our late Bobby Hull, and how Bobby Hull leaving the NHL to go to the WHA was the reason why Gretzky made the money he did. The reason why, and he's like, and I bet you no one knows that.
Yeah.
But and then I actually brought it up to Brett last week, and I was like, sorry to hear about your old man. Yeah. Wayne told me this incredible story, and it was just, well, lots of stories about Bobby, but he was like, he left, and it was a big reason why, the contract started to become something that you didn't have to get second jobs for. And then I'm like, do you think like a young kid knew that was what Bobby Hull did for the sport?
For the sport. Yeah. Everybody thinks, well, Bobby took the $1 million. Yeah. No, Bobby set up shop for everybody else.
Yes.
Not much different. And I don't want to get too much into it, but what Live started something that a lot of people aren't happy with, but the PGA Tour has accommodated what's over there to make sure that the players right here are getting treated a little bit better than what they were before. Mm-hmm. So but that whole WHA, there's so many guys, Jerry Cheevers. I mean, the guys that left at the time, they were so good. I mean, the Jerry Cheevers, the Patty Stapleton, I think at one time you had Rick Vive, Mark Messier, Mike Gartner, Gretz playing, all his 19-year-olds, just an unbelievable group of guys.
Yeah.
I'd like to get back to why in the world did Wayne Gretzky, why wasn't he not able to win? Like, do you believe he couldn't win the Calder trophies because he played in the WHA?
I never knew that. Is that true?
And then he didn't win the Art Ross trophy his first year because he tied with Marcel Dion, and Marcel had more goals, so they concluded that Marcel won it. I'm pretty sure. So he got robbed out of 2.
Wow. A little more hardware. He would have a little more hardware.
Yeah.
Man.
So me and Uppy were talking about this, and we said maybe every rink, because we were worried about kids growing up, like my nephew's growing up, and I'm going to tell him who Wayne Gretzky was. But then, maybe every rink in Canada, should there be a 99 in every rink, retired? So when the kid walks in, that was Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something that we could continue to have in every rink.
Honestly, Opie, I thought we were going to have that in the NHL.
Or NHL,
I was in Toronto for the All-Star game of 2000. So he'd retired in 99. So when the year turned 2000 in Toronto, and they did this big, massive presentation, Gretz is going on the ice, and they 99 was being retired. And I just fully expected, as years were going on, that I'd go to every rink and somewhere 99 would be there.
Yeah.
And it'd be,
you're right.
I mean, why isn't it?
Yeah.
Why isn't it? I mean, I get it. No one's going to wear it.
But still, it should be hanging there. You're right. It should be hanging there. 100%.
Yeah, it should be for sure. Look at all the hockey here. We're just talking to some of the fellas here about San Diego.
If you're a young kid at the Honda Center that comes in and you see 99,
there should be a story, or maybe there should be something in the concourse. Maybe there should be a glass display and it should just be Wayne Gretzky. Everywhere.
I like it.
Yeah. Pang, I wanted to get your thoughts on there's something, McDavid said the other night about the World Cup. And I got in an argument with Cooley this week about, it can't happen because fuck off, Cools. Like, when the best player on the planet
you put him in his place, didn't you?
I tried, but he's smarter than me, unfortunately. But I think we got to have one sooner than later. I know what's going on with Russia and all that stuff, but don't you think we need best on best here? Because he hasn't been able to do it yet.
Yeah. And, I know a lot of people were negative on it, but don't forget, we had COVID. Like, COVID created a real problem going to Asia, and the NHL players were, nullified of the Olympics. And that's a tough one. But you are right.
I'm talking North America. Have it in Vegas if you want.
Absolutely.
In September. It's not going to happen, but just I get the going over there stuff.
Do you
but
know
in
when,
North America,
yeah, you're right. And the best on best is, I remember seeing Rendezvous, like in the middle of the season, the Montreal Canadiens played the best Russian players. Philadelphia Flyers. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
The Russians went into Philly.
Broke this guy's leg.
They left the game a little bit. But I mean, you're right. I mean, there's an appetite and a thirst for it for sure.
Yeah.
Because the last time we did it was at 2016. I think I worked for ESPN for that World Cup, and I got to do that young
stars.
Yeah.
North America.
North America.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was spectacular. I mean, spectacular. And I forgot that's how long it's been.
Yeah,
so we do need to have something done, and I don't know what to do with the Russian Federation and how we're. I mean, that's.
But I would say this, Pegger, sort of like when the best player on the planet wants it, now that the fans want it, ex-players want it, we all want it, this could be the time you build on it.
Yeah.
If you have one, now we might be able to get some traction on it, because I think the one in 2016, it wasn't probably...
Or just do US versus Canada.
Something, or something. There needs to be something. There needs to be something.
I mean, if Russia is out, well, I don't think we can... I don't think we can eliminate all the other great players from playing.
Yeah.
You know, we can come up with...
I got an idea I'm going to bring up to you guys off air.
Canada versus everybody.
Bring it on. Canada, everyone versus McDavid.
I know some people that might fund this thing. They started, the Live Tour, for example.
Gotcha.
They would pay millions and millions to these guys to just go, okay, well, they won't do it for you. Here, bam, here you go.
There you go.
You know guys like that.
No, I'm just saying.
I was like, fuck it, right? So let's get it started.
Yeah, I don't want to just mention it, but I'm sure, okay, this won't happen because
there's enough money out there. Somebody's
money out there.
Updogg, you want
the amount of money you guys are making with this Missin curfew? Are you kidding me? You guys are going to be able to afford it.
We're lucky to keep these lights on here, Panger. We're lucky to keep the lights on.
Hey, do we have a couple photos we want to put up and just laugh for a bit?
Do you got some quick hits you want to ask them?
We ran through a lot of them.
Okay,
it was good.
Okay.
Nothing's quick with me, by the way.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, I'm not really a big quick hit guy. There's some good photos.
You're more of a hot stove guy. You're more of a hot stove guy.
Have a nice beverage of some sort.
There's the white pads.
They're there. There's the white pads.
You weren't kidding.
Brian's 27 inches tall.
What would those pads look like now? What would those pads look like on Vasilevsky right now?
They
look like a soccer shin pad.
Actually, I did a feature with Ben Bishop for TSN a number of years ago where he actually put on my equipment and I put on his equipment, and he said to me, I wouldn't wear these playing street hockey as a 12-year-old, and so I mean, like the pads, they're all different, but look at the one on the left.
I like the brown ones.
Okay, those on the left.
In a bit.
That was my first. Those were the pads I wore the year before in Saginaw and Halifax, and they were all beat up. I mean, there was patches all over the place. But those gloves were brand new. I just got them. I was so pumped up. I got these red and black and white gloves, and I was feeling like an NHLer then. And then I got those white pads, and then I gassed the blocker on the left. I gassed that one, but I kept the catching glove on for a long time. That's the glove. That is the glove on the left that I made that save with.
It is, right?
Yeah, it's a company called Bayard, and they were from Quebec, and I love these things. They were unbelievable. I can't find them anywhere.
Fire on the next one, Max.
Yeah. The mask.
I'd like to know who you're...
I'm styling. See what I'm talking about with my pads?
I mean, I could have went 5-hole on you there.
Look at
Were you
the
a flexible guy?
I got patches like you read about. Look at them. They're just
those pads look like the pads I had growing up playing roller outside. Yeah,
they were bad.
Road Warriors.
They were bad.
I mean, I think I wore them for 2 years in Saginaw.
How sick is that jersey?
I tell you what, to put see my sticker on the side. So I've got this white mask. I had it made in Saginaw, and then I had a Saginaw sticker on it. And then I get to the NHL, and I get this. Oh, I was in Halifax before that, so I had a Halifax Oilers sticker, and then I take that one off, and I got to put the little Blackhawk sticker right there. That is good right there.
Journeyman.
I didn't want to have I didn't want to wear a mask that had a lot of colors because I was.
You wanted to let everyone know you're available, right?
I was just trying to. I just kind of hoping I was going to make the team. There's 3 goalies. There's Bob Mason, Murray Bannerman, and myself. And we for a little while there was just 3 of us goalies, and our coach Bob Murdoch was asked about carrying 3 goalies, and he said it's not a problem. He says Bob Mason gets the one bed. Murray Bannerman gets the other, and Pang gets the top shelf of the drawer. And it was a funny line. And I'm like, this guy's good. Yeah.
So obviously goalies are how undersized were you back then, Panger? What was a normal size goal? Was he a 6-footer or was he how undersized?
You know what? The goalies that were great in my era that were tall were probably Pete Peters was probably a 6-footer. We probably had a couple of guys 6 feet. Sean Burke was a big guy.
Yeah.
Tom Barrasso was fairly big.
Billy Ranford, not too big, right?
No, I think Billy was probably 6 feet or 5.
Furzy wasn't too big.
Furzy was 5'9".
Alan Bester, how big was Alan Bester?
He was about 5'7". He was one of the smaller goaltenders to have success. Yeah. Moger was about 5'9". I played at. I played at 5.
Moger's about 5'9".
I played at 5. Mike Vernon was one of my favorites.
Oh, Vernon, he's a good guy.
I think he's a Hall of Famer too, by the way. So if anybody's listening, I mean, he should be. He should be a Hall of Famer.
He's a good guy.
And so I'm 5'4.5". I was almost 5'5". Okay, and I was 135 pounds. That's what arm is that? So I cheated. We went through this little weigh-in thing. So when I found out we were weighing in, I had the one-piece cotton, the underwear that we always wore. So I strapped on those sand weights. I jacked them. So we were going the other way. Sumo, and I sumoed them this way and this way, and I taped them. I put my stuff back on. And I had ankle weights on, and I weighed 152 pounds with everything. So they put me down as 155, but I don't even weigh 155 now. So I played at 135. So I think to me, now I regret cheating, because now in the stats, it says I'm 5'5", 155, but I was really 5'4.5", 135. And there's a big difference, because the smallest goalie to ever play was in the 20s, Roy Waters, and he was really little, like 5'3.5", 130 pounds. And so I'm really the second smallest to ever play. So I just wish I didn't. I wish those numbers were were out there. And
they are now. People are listening.
Because it's neat, because I get goalies all the time. OB, they're really respectful, but they're funny. Even Soupy the other day, Campbell was there, and I could tell he was kind of just kind of looking at me like, no way. And I think that's cool now that I'm older. I think that's really neat that guys look at me, and maybe there's a little, not respect, but maybe wonder. Maybe wonder more than anything. They wonder, how the hell did you even play?
Yeah.
So that's a neat part.
So you were trying to put sandbags on. I was trying to get one. I was trying to get 1 foot off the scale. I was like, oh, fuck, what is that? 230? I was like trying to balance on it, but
you had a good 100 on me.
Yeah, more than that. But Panger, you're talking to the guys. Like, my favorite thing about you is you always made the game more fun, right? You interact with the home and away team, and you continue to do that. So is that how you just kind of pride yourself on it? I know it comes natural to you, but that's huge when the boys can come over, and because there's a lot of guys we all played, you don't really want to talk to, but you're always one guy who's like, Panger, what's going on, fella?
Yeah, so, and I like that stuff, and I when that leaves, I think I've got to leave. That's just kind of the way I think. I think there's always an expiration date. Losing touch with the players, you can't do that. Like, you got to find a way. Whether it's like Mason McTavish is a great example. Like, I didn't know Mason McTavish at all, but I went into the locker room to talk to him. My nephew from Ottawa, both of them, Jake and Jesse Bryson, they basically grew up with Mason. They played on the same 12 and under team that went undefeated. So there I am, in the room, and I got a picture of him with my nephew, and now I've kind of clicked with him a little bit, and there's some trust there. Or Cal DeHaan is a good friend again of my nephew, and so I've been to Cal's house, and we've had a couple of pops. We played some golf together. Now you get maybe guys saying, "Hey, this guy, hey, he played," and boy, you go back to it. He actually won a Memorial Cup, or and so they get maybe a more familiar feel. And maybe the biggest thing that I appreciate over time, and I hope that this is the case, but I don't screw people over.
Yeah.
I think you're going to come over. I'm not going to say something out of school. I'm going to have fun with what you said. We're going to bring you in. Uppy and I've had we had a lot of fun together.
Oh, for sure.
And that made that was probably I went through, it's 14 years at with the Blues, and there's been some unbelievable relationships, and the ability to be with the guys and not be always together, but there's always a time where we play. Hey, you want to play some golf? Like, let's go, and let's go out there and play. And I don't really, and it's not something I wanted to do. I don't really hang out and go for dinners and stay out late with the fellas. Like, I don't.
Well, you can't stay up as late. You can't stay up as late as him, Panger. Holy God, nobody can. Panger.
He's close, but I'm close.
It gave us the brand.
Nobody can. Don't try to. He's put a lot of guys in retirement.
But you know what I mean, right? That's one thing that I kind of stayed away from. Like, that's your time, that's your stuff. But the other stuff, going out and having a lunch, a couple of pops at lunch, or go and play golf and stuff. That's what it's all about. There should be relationships in there.
And the only other guy that I had that the same as that was Dan Murphy, and obviously Kyle Keefe in Colorado. Kiefer's the man, but Murph.
Yeah.
And especially in a market like Vancouver, where the media is such a big thing, like, the guys trust Murph. And I'll do an extra interview with you, Murph. And I had fun like you guys did and warm up with Murph, but you trust him. And I remember when I got put on waivers, he reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'll just give you a heads up. Like, from what I've heard, you're going, tomorrow morning on waivers," and stuff like that. Like, he's just the type of guy that he does his job the right way. He's professional, but the players trust him. Yeah. And I would play golf with him, and I go have lunch with him. And
over
stuff
at Marine
like
Drive?
Yeah, he was at Marine Drive. Exactly.
On that note, I should say a guy that's been around a long time, but Cheech. Johnny Garrett's going to step down after this year. So
I saw that last night.
That's a long time that he did this business. So
him and
both of them.
Shorty. Shorty's going to keep doing it.
No, Shorty's he's still rolling.
Yeah, they're good.
But anyway,
they're good. So
they call it good.
Panger, you're the man, buddy.
Thanks,
we appreciate it. We could do this all day.
Really appreciate it.
I got to tell you right now, boys, I'm a 10 handicap right now. So
here we go.
Yeah, I know, but listen, I want to get it out of the way.
Here we go.
Just get a human I've been a human ATM to this guy over here.
But didn't he just say a little bit ago he shot that 79 with Gretz? Under pressure.
Yeah.
He did.
Probably at the Grove.
That's how much TNT painting. That's a big wall you got there.
Hey, no, he's getting a couple inches now.
I don't know.
He's getting a couple more inches on this chair.
That's card, the St. Louis Blues card, the Sportsnet card.
He knows he's on camera. He's trying to bump it up a little bit.
I see that. I did. I was cheating a little bit.
I know. You probably got one in the other one too, just to pop it up there. We love you, Panger. Thank you.
Thanks
for having me on. Keep up the great work.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you, brother.